Hey everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome to another installment of the FlowZone Power Hour. In case we have not had a chance to meet or connect before, let me just quickly introduce myself to you. I'm Suze, the gal in the corner office over here at SB Success Factor, and I help small businesses with their communications, content, copy, and kind of related systems needs. So let's get into it. What are we doing here today? Today we are doing FlowZone Power Hour, of course. That's why you're here. And we're doing our activity today is reverse drawing. And I will explain what that is in a moment. But yeah, this is something that's actually new to me. And I just discovered it through a workshop that was offered by my local library. I mean, go libraries, right? And I just really, I don't know. It was like I took to it instantly. It was like love at first, you know, swipe of the pen. Anyways, yeah, so what is reverse drawing? Reverse drawing is basically where you start with a piece of paper that already has color on it or visual texture. And my understanding is, I should state that I'm not a professional artist or art educator or anything like that. Um, so this is a this is me being like one step ahead of you, like the Arthur Miller dance instructor that's like, two lessons ahead, is now teaching you. It's that kind of a scenario. But basically it's where you start out with a piece of paper that already has color on it, or visual texture. And I think my understanding is it's generally watercolor. Um, and it's usually like splotches or patches of color. And from that starts out as your canvas. So instead of starting out with a blank canvas, you're starting out with color, something with color and visual texture on it already. And I'll show you some examples in a moment. And then you are actually drawing on that. And it is kind of free-form drawing. Um, I think it's really awesome because it really gets you into this Zen zone. And it's very, for me, it's just extremely, I get very focused, but to the point that other stuff falls away. Like I'm not worrying about my worries. I'm not, life is not lifing while I'm in the middle of doing this activity. So it is just really a really good escape and a wonderful release. And even though I'm very focused and concentrated while I'm doing this activity, I come away feeling quite relaxed and refreshed. And when I come back to look at the work I've done, or I take a moment to like zoom out, even while I'm in the middle of my activity, um, I'm always really surprised to see what I've created. And it's always really, to me, I find it extremely interesting, both visually, and, just compositionally. So yeah, that's kind of what reverse drawing is. And you might be thinking, like, how does this tie into running a small business? How does this tie into, BizCom stuff? Which is a great question. And the honest answer is, assuming you're not an artist or art educator or art therapist or something like that, where you're professionally doing something related to the arts, it doesn't directly relate. But that is part of the beauty of it. What we're really exploring and experimenting with in FlowZone Power Hours is leveraging creative, social, or movement-based activities to break down barriers in one part of our lives and these activities are generally not work related. Okay. But we're using them to break down barriers in one part of our lives, that or to accomplish something in one part of our lives, but there's a carryover effect oftentimes that helps break down barriers that are, stumbling blocks for us in our business lives or our work lives. So, my real life example of this is I've been teaching myself how to do urban sketching and with watercolor washes, and that's an art form where it's very, very quick. You're often creating this artwork on location and your subjects are moving. So the object is to get the representation down on the paper very quickly and in like 10 minutes, like a whole tableau in front of you in 10 minutes, and then you're done. I'm not quite there yet, but as I've been going through the exercise of learning it, I've had to give up, you know, uh, procrastinating in the minutia. I've had to let go of capturing every detail in photorealistic, representation. I've had to give up, let go of the idea of perfection and get really comfortable with that, let it sit and marinate with it and move on and recognize the beauty in all of that. Um, and what really surprised me is the carryover effect from this. Like I mentioned before, there was a carryover effect, and it translated into me, um, not being as much of a perfectionist in my business, which benefited me greatly because it meant I was able to be more agile, move faster, progress towards my goals a lot quicker. And that was like a really awesome thing. It was liberating, and it made me feel really more accomplished in my business stuff. So that's what I'm trying to recapture with this whole FlowZone Power Hour stuff. And this reverse drawing is just one activity we're doing to try to play around with that idea and see, how it lands with us. Um, and today, its activity is sponsored by or presented to you by Smart Start Content Club, which is a membership I run for small business people and or their teams. And It is a membership where we work on content strategy, planning, creation, and distribution so that you can um, improve your knowledge, your awareness, your skills, your capacity to create better content and more broadly, better communications for your business so that you can just score more wins, have greater success because you're able to connect with your audiences better. Anyways, so before we get into our activity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all those other little activity things that YouTube really appreciates. The YouTube gods, they smile upon. I want to be in their good favor. You can help me do that. Very appreciated. And yeah, so we're going to get into the reverse drawing activity right now. I'm going to switch my camera angle to focus down on my artwork. As we're working through. But the basic flow of the activity today is we're going to go through the supplies you need, kind of maybe some suggestions for changes to your environment to facilitate the activity, make it more fun or comfortable, go through the technique, and then I think what I'm going to do is, you don't want to sit here and watch me draw for an hour. That would be really boring. So I think what I'll do is just kind of shift quickly into an outro and release you to do the activity on your own in an environment or setting that suits you really well. So today, the video today will be kind of quick, but you can take as long as you want to actually do your reverse drawing. And I really encourage you to, if you like the concept of reverse drawing, to do it every once in a while. It's really fun. It's very accessible. It's something it's pretty easy to pick up and put down, like if you have 5 minutes to work on it here and there. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we need to cover is what supplies do you need? You are going to need some kind of pen, a fine tip pen. And most people, I think, really like these fine tip. This is a real fine tip. Let me get the cap off. Maybe you can see it a little bit. I don't know if you can see it very, very well, but pull back a bit. See it. It's a real fine tip Sharpie. Traditionally, people use black. And I'll touch on that in a second. But you can also use like a very fine tip marker kind of pen. I found this was not as easy to use because it doesn't create quite as fine a line. A lot of people use the black micron marking pens or like a rapidograph type thing. fountain pen, something that's got a nice solid, non-bleeding kind of fine line. Now, just to be careful when you're using something like a Sharpie, and you'll want to test this with other pens as well, it does bleed through the paper. At least for me, it does. And obviously that depends on what kind of paper you're using, but protect your surfaces below your work if you're using a pen that bleeds through, and be sure to test that before you start. The other thing you're going to want to test before you start is if you decide to do your markings first and then do any kind of watercolor wash over, you will want to make sure you're using a marking pen that does not bleed. I've made that mistake before, and don't want that to happen to you. The other thing you can do, and I've done this as well, and I'll show you an example of this. I've used, this is another fine tip felt tip pen, and it's just, I literally picked this up. It was a 2-pack at the dollar store. And it's great. It's like a dark kind of sagey, foresty green kind of color. It creates a totally different look, but it's really fun as well. And I can't remember if I've done this or not, but you can also try using gel pens in another color. So while the tradition is black, feel free to experiment. And actually, I'm going to show you an example where I use a bunch of different colors. There were when I was at the library doing this the first time, they had probably like 30 different colors of fine tip Sharpie markers, and they were really good, and that was really fun. Okay, so those are your marking pens. And then next thing you need is paper, right? So you have two options here. You can either get paper that already has a visual texture, color splotches, or whatnot on it, or you can kind of create your own, or you can kind of do a midway between. So when I was at the library, they had pages. She found like a source, I don't know where, maybe like Canva or something, where you could get pre-made watercolors that she just printed out. And this is an example of one. You can see it's got little splotches, and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, so this is the one I'm going to use today for our exercise. And this is another example that she brought up. So it can be super abstract like this, or it can be, if maybe you're not feeling as creative or you need more of a starting point, you can get something that's a little less abstract. And you can start with something that's less abstract like this, and then get very abstract with it. So those are kind of examples of pre-printed pages or pages that are already have color on them. Another example of this is actually, this is an experimental watercolor I was working on exactly for this purpose. I haven't done a reverse drawing on it yet, but I created this one with my own watercolors, and it could be a really great starting point for a reverse drawing. Now, if you're creating your own color swatch paper to start from, obviously you're going to have to do that first. Let the watercolor completely dry, or else your pens won't be able to write on it. And yeah, and your other option is you can print out something that's black and white or grayscale printed out that's got some kind of visual, kind of abstract texture, like these watercolors, and then add your own color on with like color pencils or markers or something. Make sure that's dry, and then you can go back and do, with a pen, the reverse drawing. And your other options include getting maybe a patterned scrapbooking paper, maybe some patterned wrapping paper, I don't know, or some other kind of tissue paper, something other that will hold up to you drawing on it, but that's already got some kind of visual texture on it. Okay, and you want it to be a kind of abstract-y visual texture. Now, you'll find a link in the description and comments to a Canva file where I made some backgrounds that you can use. They're in color, but you might be able to print them out in grayscale with high contrast and have that work for you. You'll have to experiment. I just threw these things together to give you a head start, give you some ideas. You're free to use them or not. I will put the link to that in the comment below and the description. Now, the next thing you need to understand is, oh, and that's it for your supplies. Okay. Um, Next thing I want to show you is some of the drawing elements. You're like, what is reverse drawing? So reverse drawing is similar to like doodling. It can be similar to doodling. It can be similar to Zentangle pattern designs. And I grabbed this from the library when I was there for, there we go. Let's see if I can position it on the camera. From the reverse drawing workshop that I went to. And it's a little bit fuzzy, but hopefully you can kind of get an idea of different shapes. So they've got some like shading and gradient and like little doodly things and some like this is almost like topography lines, some swirls, um, flower, like floral and organic components. I think these are those little fishes? Yeah, those are little fishes. This one is kind of a wave and then kind of a starbursty type thing. And you can see how the um, pen work is interacting with the color splotch. Okay? It's incorporating it, it's highlighting it, it's taking it to the next step, it's bisecting it, it's, somehow it's interacting and leveraging the color splotch. Okay? So, yeah, these are just some ideas to get your creative juices flowing. Now, so you got your pens, you got your paper, you got some of those raw elements. Now, you're probably wondering, like, what are some finished products? What are some examples of finished products? I'm going to show you a few. And these are all ones I've done. I'm going to show you my first one that I did at the library. This one's kind of interesting because it used all different color Sharpie marking pens. Let's see. Yeah. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit. I can't zoom in on it with my camera. I have to kind of manually zoom in. But it started out as just a color wash. All those dark lines and shapes and little thingies you see in there, the flowers and stuff, that's all stuff I created by just working with the color splotches that are on the paper and finding stuff in them. You see there's a face in there. I can't think of what else. There's some like textured patterns. There's a tree in there. Yeah, that's all stuff I created using the lines and of the color splotches that were already on the paper. So that's one example. Here is another example. Oops. And with this one, again, it was just a color wash. I think the background looked kind of more like a landscape, but it was all just browns and rusty kind of colored paint splotches. And I just immediately saw faces in there. So like this one right here, I saw that face in there, and some of these faces up here, I just saw faces all over the patterns in this page. And all these black lines, all these little lines in here, you see up in here, those are all things I drew in based on the, kind of outlining some of the color splotches that were on there. It's quite intricate. It's not coming through as crisp and clear on camera, but that's just to give you an idea of another direction. And then here's a third one. This one is more vertical. Let's see if I can. And you can see I found, again, this is one where I found a face. I saw a figure in this. So it's kind of a person in profiles is what I saw in there. And all the dark lines on here, all the black marker work is stuff that I drew in. In fact, you can see on the reverse of the page all the marker that bled through. But it shows you like the depth of the work that I did. Now, going in a completely different direction-ish, I guess I did use this gold marker for this one. And I did a little bit, I combined a couple other techniques, but you can see that all the gold lines in here, this is more of a neurographic drawing style. But you can see like in here, all these little splotches of gold marker. Um, those are all kind of this reverse drawing uh, technique. All right, so those are a few examples, and hopefully now you have an idea of what we're doing, kind of supplies you need. And now I've lost my paper that I want to work on. Here it is. So the last thing I think I would say is environment. Pick some place that has pretty good lighting because you might get to do some real fine work in here, and you don't want to hurt your eyes. Um, Make sure that you could do this indoors, you could do this outdoors. I've done it both. Um, it's very well suited. It's very portable. I mean, you're taking a piece of paper and a pen, so so it's really portable and something to draw. It's, surface that you can draw on. Yeah, so it's super portable. You could do it indoors, you could do it outdoors. Just make sure you have some good lighting. You probably don't want wind and rain blowing on you. Um, Feel free to adjust, if you want music playing in the background, if you want to adjust, like have not just good lighting, task lighting, but ambient lighting, maybe some candles, maybe you want to have a diffuser with some nice essential oils going, or, scented candle, just anything that kind of makes you comfortable, helps you relax, that will help you get into a flow state, get creative, enjoy yourself. That's pretty much all it is. And make sure again, um, if you have paper and a pen that's going to bleed through that paper, make sure you have a good surface or something between your surface and your artwork to protect that. Um, and moving on to technique. Okay, so we got our supplies, we got our environment. We kind of have this idea of what we're doing, but how do we actually do it? Uh, Essentially, there's no rules. It's that simple. There's no good, no bad, no right, no wrong, etc. This is pure just letting your creativity flow, letting your imagination go, um, letting yourself express yourself. Just open up your mind and get to your page. Maybe you want to look at it. Maybe you want to, you want to look at this way. Maybe you want to look at this way. Yeah, turn it around. Kind of explore the shapes that are already on the page, the colors that are there. Um, See how it makes you feel. See where you want to like dive in and start first. For me, the kind of person I am, the first thing that probably where I start, just not saying this is the way to do it, but to give you an idea if you're lost, I tend to look for where the definitive shapes, where are the hard edges, for the color lines like these. And that's kind of where I start. And for some of them, um like this one I showed before, like this one, I just saw faces straight away. And so that is 100% where I just gravitated to instantly. So, it kind of depends on what your starting artwork is, that your color washed page or color splotched page is. And so you pick your page, you pick your marker. I'm going to use the fine tip Sharpie today because I have this page is quite dark. I don't think my other pens would show up. And yeah, so look for those shapes, look for those objects. It's kind of like when you look at clouds and you're like, oh, there's a bunny or there's I don't know, a superhero cape or whatever. Um, that's kind of, or what are those things called? Rorschach splotches, it's kind of that same thing where you're looking for stuff in here and you're just kind of working with that. Um, Only you will know there when you're done. Just stop when you feel like you're done, when you feel it's complete, when you um, have expressed what you want to express, and you're ready to step away from it. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't come back later and work on it more, but yeah, I mean, like I said, this is something you could work on for 5 minutes, come back and work on it for another 5 minutes if you're not able to sit down in one session and do it. And then I kind of, when it's done, I encourage you to just take a moment, and when you're working on it, you can start to sort of get like really focused in on one little zone. And so what I think is really fun to do is when you're done, is to uh, telescope out, okay, and look at your overall piece. Look at the composition, look at the colors, look at the pen work, look how everything plays together. And reflect on how you felt during the activity, like maybe at the beginning when you first started versus how you were in the middle and the end of doing the activity. Assess how you feel now that you've completed your work. And just make a mental note of that. There's no right or wrong, there's no good, bad, nothing like that. Just reflect, take note. And then I encourage you to come back to the pieces maybe later and just look at them. Like I did these example pieces I showed you, a little while ago now, and it was really fun for me today, while I was preparing for this session, to come back and look at them. And I really like them. I think they're really fun. I think they're super interesting. And I'm a person who's very creative, but I have trouble, I feel like, expressing myself artistically. And so when I look at these, I feel like really proud and kind of surprised because I feel like they're quite artistic, um, and nice, in an artistic aesthetic sense. So that makes me feel good. And I remember how I felt when I was doing them and how I felt when I finished them. And it was, just a nice feeling. It was nice to come back to that uh, nice feeling that I had. Um, Yeah, so I think with that, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn the camera down onto my paper. I'm gonna start drawing for a little while, and then I am going to um, just draw for a few moments, and then I'm gonna to give you an idea to show you how you can see something progress. And I'm just gonna do that for a few minutes maybe, and then I'll come back on and we'll kind of close things out, and then you can go on your own and finish your artwork. All right, so let's get this camera down. All right, let me see if I can get my paper. I have trouble spatially figuring out where I need to move the paper. All right, that works a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to use this pen. I'm going to get these other ones off to the side. And I got another paper underneath because I don't want to have this bleed through. I'm trying to decide if I feel like this should go um, portrait or landscape. Um, I'm feeling both. I'm feeling like the red part, it feels very landscapey to me, but this looks like continents to me, like Africa, while Pangea is going on, so it feels like it should go this way. All right. To me, oh, and I should mention at the library when she was doing this, this is the example. She used this as her example, this page, and she had this, I think, as like an eyeball or something with like planets and I don't know. She had all kinds of stuff going on. All right, so what I'm seeing in here, I feel like I see this looks like a planet or a bowling ball or a jawbreaker or something to me. This kind of looks like blood, I don't know. There's something like real fine detail. It's not showing up very well on the camera here. And then there's these like real fine splotches or like areas of white that are interesting to me. And I'm going to be real with you. Um, I really like doing the outlining all the different little segments. That's not what everybody does, but I really like doing that. So that's probably where I'm going to end up going anyways. But I do like to kind of create stuff um, from within here. And so I think what I see in here, so this little thing here looks like a peacock to me. This looks like mountain range to me. Um, what else do I see in here? I already said that looks like Africa and like Asia, Europe during Pangea. Um, and you know what? You can actually change orientation while you're midstream. So maybe at some point I might rotate this and work with this like it's, dripping down. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think she had this as a planet in her example. To me, it looks more like I'm going to do it as an eyeball. That's going to be an eyeball, and then it's going to be a eyelid. So I am just starting here. And you could follow these lines that are on the page. Uh, you can go, draw outside the lines, if you will. And this is definitely not like one of those kind of art styles where you have to be like perfect artist or, formally trained or, anything like that. There's certainly no pedigree to it. I feel like I've already gotten into a very meditative mode. So these are I'm just picking up some of the little lines that are in here. Not all of them. So to me, this looks kind of like a scaly, this is a scaly monster creature, Godzilla-like eyeball. It's very interesting to me, kind of an interesting shape. You can see how I'm just starting to pick up some of the lines. This one that looks like a peacock to me, I think it's just too fine for me to and small for me to really deal with, so I'm just gonna forget that for today. That's not what I'm choosing not to highlight that. You see, I got very quiet because I'm already in like meditation mode here. It always surprises me how quickly and easily I can get into that kind of um, zone mode. And so I'm in my mind's eye, this looks kind of like like a creature, and um, it's a little bit scaly, and so that's kind of what these are. And this is its eye. And we're just going to extra detail in here to kind of indicate that. And you can do as heavy or as light of um, pressure as you want on your pen to achieve your desired look. You can also, again, experiment with um, different finenesses of marker point or pen point to accomplish different work, uh, different looks. Um, this, I think the micron pens come in very various widths of the nib. So it's something to explore. I think you'll probably end up with something that's a little bit finer if you get something like a micron pen. They're really common, at least here in the US. So they shouldn't be too difficult to find. All right, so for right now, this is this is where we are. Okay. I'm just gonna keep continuing on with this. Um, I'm probably gonna move, and I like to move around the paper. I don't always like stay on the same spot. So um, don't feel like, if you started on this area, then you have to only do this area before you can move on. It's just kind of whatever calls to you, move around. Um, like I feel I really like this little area right here because to me this looks like mountains, and I like mountains. And you can either trace the lines or draw around them. Like I'm tracing the lines, and some people are like, oh, well, that means that you're kind of covering them up. And yeah, I mean, that's true. So you don't have to do that. It's just kind of like the direction I feel like going. And then you can kind of like augment, because maybe you want to draw the little sunshine. So to me, that looks like, a little sunshine on the mountains. And there's kind of like a ridge line, horizon line kind of thing going on there. This looks like a little bird to me, so we're gonna go with the little beak. If I had a little bit of a finer marker, it might be a little bit easier. Hmm. That looks like a little bird to me. What else we got in here? I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes you gotta turn the paper around just to see what there is. Um, hmm, there's something right here. It kind of looks like to me, this kind of looks like a person with their arm out, like kind of holding something. Unfortunately, my marker is super unfine. It's not fine enough for me to accomplish what I would really love to do, but that's okay. I don't know. That looked like a person to me. And then there was kind of like a wall here. Mm. Anyway, so you can see I'm no great artist, but I really kind of get into this. So I'm going to work on this for a while. I may or may not post a link to the finished image. I probably will. I don't know. Post it on the Facebook group, so you can go there and look at it. But I don't think that you need to sit here and watch me doodle on this for the next hour. Um, you go and run with your reverse drawing. Have fun with it. Let's see if I can shift this back up. Have fun with it. Make it your own. Um, the object is just to have some fun, a creative release, produce something, get into that flow state, and enjoy yourself. And have something, hopefully, that's, if not, hopefully it's pretty or attractive, but at the very least, kind of interesting to, as your end result that you can enjoy. So with that, let's just close this out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this kind of an interesting art style that you can explore and try out, share with your friends, your peers, whoever. Um, don't forget to check out Smart Start Content Club, especially if you are a small business and you are in need of support and events and resources and community to help you with content strategy, planning, creation, and distribution, all that good stuff. And reach out with any questions to me. if you need help or support with other kinds of, communications, content, copy related systems, other small businessy type operations sort of needs, all the details for this stuff are in the description for the video and in the first pinned comment below. And as a reminder, because I would be remiss if I didn't remind you, please like, subscribe, throw in a nice comment, show me some love, and all the other jazz that YouTube likes and appreciates and, you know, then shows me some love for. That would be awesome. And with that, have a great day and yeah, bye.